Welcome to Espejo's Dream Space, the Decoded Reality series, a space where symbols speak and realities intertwine. Here, we walk the path of the ancient future, weaving ancestral wisdom with modern tools. Let's dive in. Right. Well, hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Espejo's Dream Space, the Decoded Reality series. And today I'm here with my dear friend, Jess. Hi, Jess.
Hey, Excel.
How are you today? How are you feeling?
I'm feeling grateful. There's been a lot of healing happening and a lot of expansion and evolution. And it's crazy because around the time that we've connected in the dream space, dreams before that were becoming more and more present for me. And I've been decoding them more, and it's been helping me heal in the physical. So it's added a lot of more transformation for me lately. Dreams have been more of a thing to focus on. So it's funny how we've been reconnecting again. And this is one of your specialties is the dreams.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love this because, and we actually, guys, just so you know, Jess and I connected, let's say, 2021.
2021.
Yeah. And then we were both doing our own thing, but we were still following each other on Instagram. And then all of a sudden I had this dream. I'd never had a dream with Jess ever. And it's rare actually that I dream with close friends of mine or people that I know on Instagram. Usually it's family or people that I don't know. So when I have a dream of someone that I haven't talked to in a while, usually it's a nudge telling me, maybe you should talk with this person. And I did feel that nudge when I woke up. And it was an interesting dream because there was a mix of like modern and ancient energies as usually it happens in my dreams. There was this it was like a game, not a video game, it was like a reality show or something like that, and there were people dressing up as parts of cars, and they were like preparing to like take off, and on one of the sides of this big human car there were like words, and I was trying to make out what they were, and we talked a little bit about it. It might have been like cenote or the name of someone. There were other few ancient words that I can make out, and then Jess was there, and we started talking about ancient like contracts and things like that, and she was telling me, no, they're not contracts, they're agreements. And I'm like, yeah, you're right, we're not bound to these contracts or agreements. Like, what we really came here to do is actually to set ourselves free from that. The conversation was going somewhere along the lines. It wasn't exactly like that. As you guys know, dreams are very vague, and sometimes the sentences we say in them don't make any sense. But that was the message that I got when I woke up. So I shared it with her. And I was, like I said before in one of my Instagram posts about how we connect with people through dreams, I'm always surprised, but not surprised about how accurate the connection is, not only in the dream state, but also in real life and the things we've been thinking about and working on. And so when I share that dream with Jess, it was like, wow, I've actually been thinking about this, or this is part of my work too. And but I want you to tell me, Jess, how you felt when I told you that dream.
Well, first, thanks for sharing that, because that puts more things into context. And it's funny how you were dreaming that, because I don't know if the audience knows, maybe they don't, but, we obviously have a similar lineage, having obviously bloodline in Mexico, especially the south of Mexico, and just certain energies, right, that we share. And even your name being Ixchel, which is connected to the subconscious, the moon. She represents like this Mayan goddess, right? But it's just this divine energy that is connected to the feminine, the unconscious. And then, you having that dream, and you work a lot in the dream space, having that dream of me basically decoding, and what you mentioned, like things, codes you were telling me, that was very personal because it's been the work that I've been doing. And that's been literally even what she was dreaming about. It was happening in real time. I was literally having those conversations that morning with local Mayans where I'm currently living. And everything that she saw in the dreams, like that's the essence of the dream, was literally happening again in real time. Like that has been my focus. So then, like she hadn't, like she mentioned that you had, you see myself, but you didn't fully know what I was about, or the deeper context of it. And then through that dream, you were able to tap into it a bit more. And then I was able to confirm and basically let you know even deeper of like what my work is.
Yes, that was
They
beautiful.
connected us.
Yeah, it was just amazing because we both had a lot of confirmations also about things that we had had as insights or downloads or just things that we knew within. But it's like I told you, Jess, right? It lands differently when someone else tells you, and then you have it more present as well because of, yeah, like some of the things that were happening in our personal lives too, where we were maybe still somehow subconsciously still a bit attached to certain things or energies. And I always like to emphasize how sometimes it does take a little bit of time for the subconscious to catch up with the conscious mind, and then we help each other with this kind of stuff. And Jess also mentioned that well, I'll let you expand on this if you'd like, but I just really, I was really grateful for that exchange because you told me that it confirmed your path, what you're doing, and also that the work that you're doing, it's rippling out in the field. It's like I paid attention to the signal and I went and talked with you, and we went into this room, and it's like, oh, let's just go chat here, and then we got to this really deep conversation. So I thought that was really amazing.
That is really amazing because it's confirming again that it always first happens in the spiritual, in the astral, and then it manifests in the physical, right?
Yes. And then the dream also, it felt like you know how sometimes dreams don't feel necessarily like something that comes from the subconscious or your own stuff because a lot of theories on dream work focus more on that aspect, but some dreams are more like a telepathic communication or like you're visiting another reality where you're literally meeting up with that person. That's how it felt like to me.
I know exactly what you mean because I've had some of those dreams in the past where it literally feels like a meeting. Like you were doing work and you were literally in a different dimension while your body is resting. Your consciousness is traveling and it's hanging out or it's doing work, right? In another realm. And, this is again what in the Tolteca teachings, it's called el ensueño. That's why our ancestors from ancient, the Anahuac, that was one of their practices was to decode and do the work in the dream state. That's where later on all of the gods and all these forms then were born from, because as evolution continued, part of evolution is involution and evolution, right? You fall to rise. So we remembered more so in the times where we were in organic consciousness, we were just being. We knew. We were connected to our ancient ancestors from the stars. We had all the star knowledge. That's why the ancient Maya, their ancestors are called the Itzais. And the Itzais are descendants from the Pleiades, from the star Maya. So they would say that, their ancestors came from the stars, specifically from Maya. And Quetzalcoatl or Kukulkan is coming from that's why he's the morning sun, the morning star, and the evening star. It's Venus. It is the beings from Venus, the energy of Venus incarnated through these names, this consciousness.
Oh my goodness, wow. And I got so many chills when you were saying this. So this is what Jess is working on, is uncovering for not only for her own healing, but for everybody, for the collective. And that's another reason why I feel like I connected with her in this dream, is because I was needing some of that medicine myself. And oof, I'm just getting more chills because I've also been pondering a lot about this stuff and the fact that I'm back in Mexico and working on my family lineage more so than ever. And so, yes, we're going to dive deeper into this, and maybe we can transition into your dream. that I felt is like this is going to be just really, really cool to explore. So yes, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to hear that you were able to resonate. And again, right, when we get chills or goosebumps, that's literally like our energy body confirming that spirit moving, right? That's chi, life force, prana moving through us, confirming that 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 DNA is waking up. It knows, and it's remembering, it's awakening. And this dream that I had, it was 2 weeks ago. It was 2 weeks ago when it all happened. And within all those 2 weeks, there's been so much evolution in my life. And dreams have been playing an even bigger role in my life. So 2 weeks ago, I started to work with the Obsidian mirror. And I don't know if your audience is familiar with the Obsidian mirror, but the Obsidian mirror acts as a black mirror. Obsidian, for our ancestors from the Mesoamerican areas, Mesoamerica, obsidian is very precious, and it's the blood of Mother Earth because it's made from the volcanic, eruptions. So then it's a real crystal. Others are minerals. So obsidian is real crystal, and it's sacred because it carries the memory and the blood of the earth, la sangre de la tierra, the blood of the earth. Think of this like when our blood is inside the body, it's not red, right? It's a different color. It's like blue. And then when it touches oxygen, when it comes out, it changes color. So the same thing with the obsidian. It turns into crystal. It crystallizes. So that's why I was it's worked deeply with that. And it's also used as a mirror because obsidian, again, it's a portal into the underworld, into the unconscious. That's why shamans of Mesoamerica work with obsidian. So the obsidian mirror is powerful because, it shaped they would make them as mirrors, and it was used to create portals. Portals to be able to tap into the unconscious, into the spirit world. So Tezcatlipoca was understood in the organic timeline. In the organic timeline before the corruption, when, it was basically the golden age, right, of consciousness. The organic timeline, where there was remembrance and reverence for wisdom, for the earth, for the stars. We hadn't forgotten. In that time, our ancestors, understood things as energies. They didn't create gods because they knew there was no God outside of themselves. So they honored the elements because they understood that, we were part of all these elements, and the elements is a manifestation of Great Spirit, and we were all one. So they understood everything energetically. As we started to go into different epochs, different ages, consciousness started to become more dense. So that's when, we have memory of colonization. That's around that time. Basically, our ancestors had already forgotten the original codes. And at this point, the Spaniards, and then just at that time where they had lost already more of that reverence for the earth. So they were easily influenced by the Spaniards. And that's when they started to create basically forms and outside gods and statues, and started to forget the original essence of those energies. So Tezcatlipoca manifested as a figure of a man, but Tezcatlipoca is actually the shadow side of Quetzalcoatl. It's Quetzalcoatl and Tezcatlipoca. So there's different stories of how, this archetype, took human form, but everything always starts as an energetic archetype. So basically, Tezcatlipoca is this archetype of us in the flesh already, like these images, everything that we've created, right? The program that has been given to us. So when Tezcatlipoca is looking at that smoky mirror, he's remembering himself. He's remembering himself, and he's seeing through that mirror. So that smoky mirror is revealing the distortion, all the smoke. So actually, Tezcatlipoca is that archetype of us working through the shadow to be able to realize the illusion of the self. So this figure, this name kept coming up for me. I just had to go into that deep explanation for people to understand. But so then the name Tezcatlipoca started to come into my dreams for 3 nights. And I started to dream about the smoky mirror and obsidian for 3 nights in a row. So, and I knew that that's what that energy represented. So when I kept having this dream of this Tezcatlipoca and the smoky mirror, I was like, okay, I need to buy a smoky mirror and work with it. And I felt into the energy, and I found the right one to work with. And since then, I've been doing a lot of grid work and personal work within myself with that mirror. And it has shifted my entire life. Like, it opened portals. Like, I even took it to sacred sites. I took it to Ekbalam, and I did some rituals over there with that one. And it has shifted my entire life since. So I needed to connect with that shadow aspect to integrate that Tezcatlipoca within, to be able to see the truth and remember myself with no more distortion, for me to be able to anchor in my highest light, to align now with what I'm meant to do here. And that all happened because of those dreams that kept coming in and aligning also with my physical world.
Wow, amazing. And you know what I was just thinking too is that it also it links very well to that topic that I brought up about, hey, so what do you think about people who talk about the gods like Quetzalcoatl like as infiltrated or like fallen beings, and we should just avoid that. It's like a bad thing, you know, because that's the kind of information that I had been connecting with. And a lot of people I know are reading these books that say, oh, they're connected to this Niberian tribe taking people's energy. And it's like the same line, and they're in the same lineage as like these are other archangels and stuff. And then you're saying it's like, and yes, I totally agree with this. I'm seeing it more like this now. It's like there is a shadow and light aspect of everything, really. And I just love how you explained it. And I think I would like to reiterate this is like there is a timeline or probability where people were aligned to the organic essence of things, and we're in right now in a space where we're not really doing that, and we're looking more at the distortions perhaps. Yes, and I also want to kind of dissect your dream a little bit more.
Let's do that.
Okay, so
Yes.
can you tell me what you saw in the dream? Or was it more like a word that came? Yeah, like what was the experience exactly?
Yes. So what I was remembering is that the words, first it was like the words, the obsidian mirror, the smoky mirror, it was words. And then it followed images where I was literally now working with the obsidian mirror. And then when it was Tezcatlipoca, I didn't see an image. It was the name. I kept hearing Tezcatlipoca. And then I even woke up with the name Tezcatlipoca. I just woke up the first, I was like, Tezcatlipoca. So it's not like I seen anything, but then the essence of the dream, in the essence of the dream, it had to do with my fears. It had to do with the pain, the grief that I was at that time working with. And then I'm still, obviously, it's been a process because I've been going through the separation the last 2 months. And for me, it was a big rupture. So it was needing to be integrated and to see myself again and to understand that pain was an illusion. And I needed the obsidian mirror because the obsidian mirror, what it did is when I bought it that night, when I activated it, I ended up dropping it and it cracked. The corners cracked, but I knew that it was symbolic. So what happens is these types of crystals, these energies, they absorb the old. So when it fell, I knew that it absorbed what I had in my field that had to do with all that grief, because I had been going through it for days, a lot of grief that I was carrying. And it was that representation of like, it absorbed that. And then when I started to use it that night and I summoned and I connected with this Tezcatlipoca energy, not as a being outside, but just as in this Tezcatlipoca, show me what I need to see, show me the illusion, show me truth. I literally felt the activation of the energy around me, because then I heard a noise and then a cat meowed. It was my confirmation, because as you know, cats, they're very energetic, and when they feel the essence, that they will be the first to let you know. So when that happened, I felt it, and I felt some fear come up. And that was the same energy that was connected to the dream. So it was happening in real time when I connected with when I bought my obsidian mirror. Even the numbers, how much it cost, it was all symbolic. It was connected to that same energy that I felt in the dream. I couldn't remember, right, what was particularly happening, but it was that energy that I felt when I connected to the mirror that first night.
Okay, so perfect. This is how we're going to start working with this, because I love that this is a different type of dream from what I've analyzed before on this podcast, because I tend to focus more on the subconscious side. This one does seem more like you said, like an activation. Yeah, I've done a couple of those perhaps, but more so I focus on the symbols, right? So let's look at it from a different angle now. For example, you already answered the question that I was going to ask you anyways, which I'd love to ask people, why do you think you had this dream? You already answered that beautifully. And so now we're going to focus on, let's say, the obsidian mirror, of course, is the symbol to me that stands out the most. Tezcatlipoca maybe is like I don't know, it is important, but let's focus on the mirror. So I like to look at dreams from three layers. So the first one is a personal one. We already talked about that. And also just what you felt. It's like you said, you felt like it was this activation of the emotions that are connected to this dream. And then what other words maybe can you think of? I like to do sometimes what's called word association. So when I say obsidian mirror, what words come to your mind? Just like that. Don't think too much.
The first one was shadow.
Mm.
First one, and fear came up as well. Those are the two that I can think that were the
Okay.
first two, which
Okay.
I think I've said enough of those.
Shadow and fear. Okay. And so now let's focus on the second layer a little bit. So the second layer would be the archetypal or the archetypical layer. And here we're going to touch on maybe some mythology or maybe storytelling or things that you feel are in the collective consciousness regarding the obsidian mirror. What can you share about that?
I love that question and making me think of that perspective. So for sure, what that's representing now is there's new portals opening up, new energy coming in for the collective. That's why right now the collective, especially more of like people on the spiritual and conscious, communities online, I feel like there's a shift because before I feel like there was more love and light, a lot of false light, and now false light is becoming more of a topic of interest with different people online, calling out more of this false light, which is the revelation of the shadow.
And what do you think, like the obsidian mirror in mythology or and things that are ingrained in maybe storytelling or whatnot? What does the obsidian mirror represent? Is it something more dark usually, or what do people see it as? Maybe there's a story that you can remember where it appears a lot. I don't know.
Well, there's many stories in it. Actually, the obsidian mirror is also considered like think of what was that Netflix show like Black Mirror? There you go, Black Mirror.
Ah, yes.
So the obsidian is considered the black mirror as well because it has its light. You can use it for light and you can use it for dark. People use these obsidian mirrors to open up portals to invite dark forces or type of witchcraft. So it's used for that as well. But it's also used, I mean, its original usage is for working on yourself to dissolve the ego, dissolving the
Mm.
ego, the illusion. That's the work, but people also use it for negativity. And I feel like it's connected, and why it's coming up is like reminding me of that Black Mirror effect in the collective, the inverted matrix.
Wow, yes. And then the last layer would be the factual one, which you already kind of touched on earlier. Is just like the definition. What is obsidian? Where does it come from? And you told us this is a real crystal. I thought it was just mind blowing. I was like, wow. And so all of these definitions, all of these perspectives can help us get a more ample, is that the word ample vision? Amplia? I'm just, sometimes I mix words in Spanish. Una más amplia visión of what the dream is telling us. So here, what really stands out is like the Black Mirror analogy with this series that it is just so interesting how sometimes these series hide so many truths, telling us, "Oh, this is actually just it's fiction," but it's not. Like in a sense, there is a lot of truth to those things. So since Jess, your work has a lot to do with creating more awareness, higher awareness in the collective. There's a reason also why we connected and why I had the idea of doing this podcast is because this is not only about your inner work with your shadows, but I think, oh, I'm getting chills. Like it's inviting our listeners to connect also with this aspect and not like push it aside, saying this is something bad. I think a lot of people tend to do that, where it's like, oh, this is not me. They push it, they shove it down. But what happens when we do that? It gets louder, right? And it comes through in other ways.
Thank you for elaborating on that because I feel like the way that you're expressing that, like how you're connecting like my work, my inner work with the collective is exactly how I'm always, because again, this is the work, right? It's like when you're doing that, we're each contributing to that awakening of all the cells in that one organism, right? All those conscious cells in that one organism. And I wanted to add that as you were speaking about the symbolism, also the obsidian is, remember, the blood of the earth. So it holds all the codes, DNA. So when we're working with the obsidian, we're working with with the collective consciousness, all the codes, like, the 64 plus gene keys, like the energy centers, all the information. It is blood of the earth. So all of that is contained within the obsidian. So if we're connecting and working with that, it's reminding us of all of that information. Like, it's connecting us to our own DNA. So what's happening is that it's activating. It's not what we see with our two eyes, but it's what's being activated within our cells and our DNA, and what that's opening up for our soul memory, what that's unraveling. So what's happening is that's representing for the collective now is the unraveling of ancient memory coming more and more to the surface, for us to remember who we are, to remember why we are where we are now as a collective, because right now we are at a pivotal point, and all of the ancient civilizations all point to this time. They've all studied the cosmology, the cosmovision. They've understood cycles, the long counts, the 26,000 years, and this is already ending the fifth cycle of those 26,000 years that are each at least a little more than 5,000 years each cycle. So now we're hitting at 26,000 years now of those cycles that have been observed, that is taking for the sun to go through its personal evolution. So what that's doing is now we're bringing in a whole new consciousness, an evolution of consciousness, solar evolution. The sun is going through its evolution, just as many individual planets and galaxies are going through their own evolution. And because we are all, physical manifestations of those energies through these archetypes that we walk out, experience, and embody in our physical, we're telling the story of the stars. So as above, so below, as within, so without. What's happening in the cosmos, right? That's all playing out here on Earth through us. And what is within us, the micro within us, the inner, is then projecting in this, hologram outward.
Yes, I love this. And you know what? We are running out of time. I'm like, oh man, we're gonna probably have to do another one. But I want you to tell everyone if you'd like to share about this new project that you've got going on, and maybe a few last words that you want to say to people. And yeah, go ahead. I'll just let you finish off.
So over the past 8 years, I've been having this vision of the future, because I've understood the time cycles that we're in. So I knew that, we're birthing something new. So as I've been doing my inner work, I've been working towards them being able to create a physical space that represents this new energy, embodying this new energy of being sovereign in all ways, like from inner sovereignty to outer sovereignty, food sovereignty, financial sovereignty. And whereas that's happening within me, I'm also then spreading that to those around me, community. So creating this global network of like beings that are heart centered, So if you resonate with me, definitely follow my work, because I am just looking to magnetize the real people, the souls that are here to be part of this new earth, this new frequency that is heart centered, that understands that we're all individuals, but we're all one. We all share our own gifts, but we come from the same source, and we each are different parts of that one organism, and we need one another. We can no longer live in separation. And that's more so of the bigger, broader part of my personal project. For those souls that resonate, connect with me.
Yeah, I'll put your information on the show notes, and also, of course, on Instagram. I'll be posting it. Thank you so much for being here, Jess. I'm so happy we connected. We'll have to expand on this a little more. There's just so much, right? There's so much to say.
Yeah.
Time flies when you're having fun. Any last words that you want to say?
Well, my message is to remember who you are. Don't outsource, but go within. As much as you can, connect with yourself out in nature. Unplug and just practice listening to that voice within and cultivating that.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you so much, Jess.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate that.
Mm.